Hey Parasites, welcome back to another episode of the Venom Vlog, and today we're going to talk about some stories that slipped through the cracks. We have a couple of these episodes coming up on our road to Venom War, because Venom War is actually a big episode that I've recorded twice now, and I figured, you know what, there's some of these stories in there that I was trying to squeeze into the Venom War episode, but that was already long enough, and I said, screw it, we'll just make separate episodes. And we don't have a lot of episodes left before we hit episode 900. That's going to be the end of the Venom Vlog, so I appreciate you guys being on this ride. Again, I always say that, but I do mean it, so thank you so much. We'll definitely have more fun content, and it probably won't be the last time we talk about Venom, but it will be current Venom, at least for now, because I'm not interested in all new Venom or anything else that Al Ewing is doing right now. Just doesn't interest me, especially after reading Venom War. But I'll save all my thoughts, because there is some positives. I'll save all that for that video. But for this one, we're going to talk about Edge of VenomVerse, which was the Marvel Unlimited comic series, and we never did finish those. So we're going to talk about episodes 4 through 8, or issues 4 through 8, the digital ones, and we're going to talk about 9 through 12. So we're going to do both of those in, groups, but in this episode. So thank you for tuning in. I really do appreciate it. The first one was issue 4, because we talked about the Carnage one where it was like a severed head, and I had fun, reading that. That was a lot of fun. But we didn't get into the President Venom one, and that's written by Jay Holtham, and it had art by Philip Sevy, who does a lot of these. Philip, I've been following him on Instagram, just, keeping up with his career and stuff. And he does a lot of Marvel Unlimited stuff, but he's doing other things too. The guy's very talented. So it's cool to see him in this. Gustavo Duarte, who does some stuff in this. Clay McLeod-Chapman, who actually got credited in the Venom Last Dance movie for some of the stuff he did in the Separation Anxiety miniseries. And some of that got inspired, I guess, moments in the new Venom movie. So it's cool to see his name on this, and Jay Holtham, who kind of took over this series after Clay McLeod. They kind of did one issue here, one issue there. They're going back and forth, but the last few issues are all Jay Holtham, I believe, doing the Craven story. So in this one, we had President Venom. It's Eugene Flash Thompson. He's president, and he has a journalist that shows up, Eddie Brock, and he's kind of overweight, middle-aged, balding kind of version of Eddie Brock. And he shows up to do an interview with the president, talking about him being Venom and everything, and then reveals himself to actually be Carnage. It's God Carnage who's taken over his body, and the two fight. So I'm not going to get super into detail on these. I will show off some of the artwork and some of the stuff I'm talking about. But for the most part, these are just fun. And I really did enjoy just reading them for what they are. And they are just fun multiverse Venom stories. I would say compared to VenomVerse Reborn, which we're going to talk about in a next episode, actually, that one I didn't really enjoy so much. And that was also another anthology type story with a bunch of different Venoms. But this one was more horror based, and I really liked that. I just thought that was a cool take to do on a bunch of different versions of Venom. So the President Venom one, I really liked this story. The Pet Shop story was very adorable. Not very horror story, this one. It has Gustavo's artwork on it. It looks really, really cool. And basically it's this kid, I think it's a young Eddie Brock, and he sees a doggy in the window, and the doggy is actually possessed by the Venom symbiote, or a symbiote. And then so he wants to adopt this dog and rescue this dog, and eventually the two meet and, become buddies. The dog now lives inside this young kid's home, and he has a symbiote attached to him. So it's kind of neat. And then Anne Wang shows up, and it looks like she might recruit them, but then that she might not, because she's just oh, this is too cute, and I don't want to bring a kid and his dog into this giant multiverse war that I'm fighting. So that was kind of a neat story. I like that. Didn't have a lot of dialogue in it, but I appreciated what it was. It was almost reminding me of those old Nuff Said comics from the 90s, where they would do a whole issue where no one talked. There was still some bubbles and dialogue a little bit here and there in this. But for the most part, it was just visuals, and they were adorable visuals. I really liked them. Now, this one had a Separation Anxiety title also, but this one had conjoined twins, so it was a different, the title fits in a way. We had Edmund and Alan. I think their last name was Harris or something like that. But it's these two conjoined guys, and they go in for this surgery because they have a cancer that could be spreading, and it's going to infecting one brother, and it's going to go into the other brother, and they need to separate them so they could treat the one brother properly without harming the other brother. And it's a very, risky surgery and procedure and everything. So they bring him in, they fill him with anesthesia, and they knock him out. And then as they're resting there, the doctor's starting to cut into them, and a woman runs in and says, "No, don't." And it turns out that woman is Anne Wang from the multiverse, coming to recruit. And those two brothers, when they start bleeding, turn into Venom. The symbiote comes out, and it takes over them. And it starts to struggle at first because it's hearing two voices in the mind, and it's not used to that. And so it's trying to calm down, and Anne helps the symbiote calm down, and then recruits the brothers to come fight with her in a war, in her war. So that was cool to see that kind of take on the symbiote and have like these two conjoined brothers together. I thought that was neat. I was like, all right, again, another cool twist on some of these stories that were actually interesting. Whereas like VenomVerse does like, here's a Wakandan symbiote, but it's like, yeah, we've already seen that in like the Ta-Nehisi Coates Black Panther run. They did a symbiote in Wakanda, which we never talked about on the show, but I'm acknowledging it now. I know it exists. But yeah, I just thought for VenomVerse, here's Viking Venom, and it's just like, yeah, that wasn't as interesting. These, I think, were a little bit more interesting. Not that I'm trying to compare them. Everyone, does their best and tries their best, but I just thought the ideas in this one were a little bit more fresh compared to what VenomVerse Reborn did. Nightmare on My Street was kind of cool because it's like this green venom that is like trying to just spread fear in this town and wants people to fear him. So he lives in this house at the edge of town. And so these two kids, M and G, who turn out, I think, are Miles and Genki, because the kid whose name is M, his hat has like a spider on it. So he comes into the house to see if this ghost is real. He sees the green venom, but then God Carnage shows up and kills that green venom and scares M off. And when M goes out into the city and he's running with Genki away from the haunted house, he says, if there is real monsters out there, maybe this city needs a hero, kind of alluding to him maybe taking on a costume and being ready in case, more symbiotes show up. So I thought that was kind of a neat story. That's another J. Holtham one. And then the last one for issue 8 was Party Animals. And this was very interesting. This is another Clay McLeod Chapman one. I liked it. It was a little out there. I think Dax Gordine did the artwork on it. And it's about a clown. It's like a Venom clown who shows up at his kid's birthday party. And he's just kind of being a goofball and just being Venom. And he's like eating the cake, and he's like popping balloons. And he's doing all this crazy stuff. And these kids are freaking out. And it's real zany and weird. But then this animal shows up that has the Carnage symbiote and attacks the clown. But the clown one-ups the Carnage symbiote and beats it until it turns into God Carnage and then severs his head and shows it to the kids and laughs at them. So it ends on a really dark note. But yeah, that was going to be another, symbiote that Anne might have recruited, but God Carnage got to him first and killed him. So that kind of ends issues 4 through 8. But the last 4 issues of this, 9 through 12, is all one big story starring Kraven, and it's really fun. Edge of VenomVerse 9 through 12 is starring Kraven the Hunter. It takes place on a different Earth. Again, this is from the Marvel Unlimited exclusive series, so you got to check it out on the Marvel Unlimited app. So be sure to buy it, download it. They're always running crazy cool deals. Right now, they're running a deal with a discount with Jeff the Shark, and then you'll get some cool little sprays. If you sign up for your account, you get it at a discount for 2 or 3 months, and you get an exclusive spray for Marvel Rivals. So that's kind of neat that they're doing, kind of cross promotions like that. But this story is called The Hunting, and it's written by J. Holtham. And Philip Sevy comes back and does the artwork. They do all 4 issues together, and it's one long story that continues to kind of wrap out this Edge of VenomVerse miniseries thing that they did, this digital series. And it's Kraven hunting Spider-Man. Spider-Man had recently fought the Green Goblin, and no one saw the outcome of it. No one has seen the Green Goblin or Spider-Man since that battle. So Kraven tracks Spider-Man's scent back to that area where they kind of disappeared. No one knows exactly where the battle ended, but Kraven finds it. And when he gets there, the other members of the Sinister Six are there. So you got Dr. Octopus, Vulture, Rhino, you got Electro, and the Lizard. And they're all kind of tracking down Spider-Man also, using their various skills. So they end up in the same place that Kraven is. And they say, okay, well, let's go in and look and see if Spider-Man's here. We'll split up into teams of 2. So Kraven and Electro go into this one room, and they find the remains of the Green Goblin. And they're like, okay, well, Green Goblin's definitely dead. So what happened to Spider-Man? And that's when Venom shows up and starts attacking all of them. And it gets into a big fight with all the Sinister Six, starts fighting them, knocks them all around. I think at one point it even bites Electro. Or no, it bites Vulture. And Vulture almost dies. And he's bleeding out and stuff. And Kraven is takes a knife and he goes and tries to stab the symbiote and everything. And he tells Electro to electrocute the symbiote and burn the grass around it. And they get into these big fights. It's really awesome. They're being hunted, though. So it's Kraven's the hunter at first, along with the Sinister Six. But then you see that Venom is hunting them. And it's pretty neat. But when you get to the end, he goes to stab Venom. And the symbiote separates with the fire and everything from Peter Parker. And he actually Kraven sees Spider-Man get thrown out of the symbiote, and Kraven goes over and hacks away at the symbiote tethers and pulls Spider-Man to safety, but it's too late. It already drained everything from Spider-Man, and he dies in Kraven's arms. So then Kraven realizes, okay, this thing is a hunter and it just killed Spider-Man. It's now king of the jungle. And normally Kraven would want to hunt the king of the jungle. But in this case, it's like, oh, but it understands strength. And it's a fellow hunter and it needs a host who is strong. So I'm going to offer myself. So I guess in this universe, Kraven isn't dying of anything yet. So he goes over to the symbiote, or maybe he is, and it doesn't matter because the symbiote will heal him. But he goes and offers himself to the symbiote and bonds with it, and then the symbiote bonds with the other members of the Sinister Six, and they become like the Sinister Venom 6 or whatever, the Venom Symbiote 6. So just kind of neat, like a little fun story. Again, starts off kind of horror-based and body horror stuff, and you see Venom attached to Spider-Man in a very intense way, when he's trying to separate from him, and it's just killing Peter Parker the more he's separating from the symbiote. So just really, really neat. I like this take on these characters, even though they look pretty much like the 616 version of most of them, their counterparts. It still was kind of fun to just kind of dip into this and just see Kraven just go nuts on Venom and on the symbiote, and also see the symbiote go nuts back. It's pretty fun stuff. So these series, like this Edge of VenomVerse series, it was a lot of fun. It's exclusive. You can read it on the Marvel Unlimited app, so I highly recommend that you do. Check it out. Like I said, if you buy right now, you can get a discount code. If you follow Instagram or on Twitter or whatever, X, you can get some digital codes that will knock down the price and make it like $5 a month for a couple months. And you can just read a bunch of Marvel comic books. I think they're usually about 4 months behind or something like that. And so anything that came out up to about 4 months ago, you can read. You can't read current stuff that's out now, but in a couple months, you'll be able to read them too. So I would say it's worth it, especially if you get behind on collecting like we do sometimes. But it's a cool way to keep up with other series that we don't buy in physical form. This is a cool way to keep up with some of those series and read them for the cheap and get the full experience too. I don't mind reading digital comics. Some people like the printed ones only, but I see value in both. And so for me, I still get the full experience as long as I'm reading a good story and I get immersed. I have a good time. And this Edge of VenomVerse stuff was fun. And like I said, if you get Marvel Unlimited now, you might also get a Jeff the Shark spray paint, thing for Marvel Rivals if you're playing that game. It's a free gift to get, so an added bonus for sure. But that's it for this episode. Thank you guys so much. See you in the future. Peace.